Hi everyone, my name is Marcus Golding and I want to take some time today to talk a little bit more about my most recent publication, The Good Corporate Citizen, Social Responsibility and the Foreign Oil Companies, that is a part of my upcoming dissertation, The Price of Doing Business, Foreign Capital and the Venezuelan Oil Industry from 1936 to 1976. So, this article analyzes the social agenda of the Creole Petroleum Corporation, a subsidiary wholly owned by the Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, operating in Venezuela. It traces how the company went from an organization unconcerned with local needs to a firm committed to the idea of social progress of the Venezuelan people. United States petroleum companies particularly faced a tough situation in Latin America during the 1930s. The economic havoc brought by the Great Depression convinced host governments that they needed to impose greater restrictions and tax burdens on foreign capital. Oil workers in Mexico and state officials in Argentina began to perceive American and British petroleum firms as plunderers of the country's national resources. They considered economic intervention as the only way to break the chains of foreign exploitation. As a result, the United States oil corporations suffered. Jersey Standard experienced the nationalization of its Bolivian subsidiary in 1937. Its Mexican affiliate, the Huasteca Oil Company, went down the next year when oil workers declared a strike and the state took over the industry. For a time, Venezuela seemed to be heading into that direction. The first nationwide oil strike took place in December of 1936. Workers demanded higher wages, opportunities to progress professionally in the industry, improved health care, and better housing. All these requests company managers had not fully addressed or paid attention to in the past. But within a few years, the perspective of the Creole Petroleum Corporation about its social responsibility towards Venezuela changed drastically. In the 1940s, the firm got involved in providing public services and economic support to communities in the nearby oil fields. It started a tradition of state-sanctioned collective bargaining, negotiating generous collective contracts with labor bosses. Creole executives also collaborated with state officials on many issues, from providing energy subsidies to Venezuelan consumers to diversifying the local economy by investing in agro-industrial businesses. By the 1960s, Creole officials persuaded domestic businessmen to adopt social responsibility as a core element of their business agenda. Together, they created an organization, the Voluntary Dividend for the Community. This pioneering nonprofit institution channeled a percentage of the profits from the affiliate American and Venezuelan corporations into health, education, and science programs throughout the country. Business communities later replicated this model in Latin America and Asia. The government in Caracas only nationalized the petroleum industry in 1976. By Latin American standards, this takeover came very late. Most other countries in the region had already set up state monopolies or expropriated the assets of foreign oil firms. In order to answer why American and British petroleum firms behaved differently and endured for so long in Venezuela, one must understand the role that the social welfare of the country played in their business strategy. The paper, or this article, addresses these questions from two angles. The first part analyzes the reasons behind the Creole Petroleum Corporation's adoption of a broad agenda of corporate social responsibility in the 1940s. I argue that external changes and internal conditions convinced Creole executives to adopt a new managerial perspective focused on the social problems of the country. The 1938 Mexican oil nationalization had a special traumatic impact, influencing this process of corporate reinvention. A new cohort of American managers and executives with experience in Latin America and who had witnessed the hardships brought on by the Great Depression also supported this transformation. Men like Nelson D. Rockefeller, son of the founder of the Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, and a Creole executive, Arthur T. Proudfoot, a Creole manager, and later president of this affiliate, also believed in a reformed capitalism. Their vision consisted of a system not only centered on profits, but also on finding solutions to the social problems of the host country. Finally, the hydrocarbons law negotiations of 1942 alerted managers to the perils that ignoring the socioeconomic demands of the Venezuelans could have for the company's operations. The second section of this article concentrates on the widespread policy of Venezolanization adopted by the Creole Petroleum Corporation. This initiative constituted one of the salient features of Creole's new policy of promotion and integration of local talent into the company. It consisted of the progressive hiring and training of Venezuelans to all positions of the corporate hierarchy. The company's main competitors, Royal Dutch Shell and the Gulf Corporation, implemented their own version of this policy as well. The program of Venezolanization is exceptional for another reason. It applied to foreigners as well. Creole prioritized the constitution of a workforce in which non-Venezuelan personnel could communicate and supervise their local subordinates in the native tongue. To that end, management set up training programs for the American personnel to learn the language, customs, and the history of the host nation. Creole's orientation school, created in 1946 in Maracaibo, showed how Americans needed to speak the language and integrate themselves with their Venezuelan peers if expatriates desired to work at the company. Simultaneously, these firms started investing in scholarships and training programs so that nationals could replace foreigners. Over the next decades, Venezuelans filled most positions at the corporate hierarchy. They even reached the board of directors and the presidencies of the American and British subsidiaries. This reality contrasts with the strategies some of these multinationals often employed to block the rise of natives in other places of Latin America and the Middle East. Finally, the policy of Venezolanization had long-term benefits for these enterprises. Venezuelan employees became the best representatives of the foreign petroleum corporations in the country, serving as a shield against nationalist critiques that objected the presence of foreigners in the oil industry. During the 1940s, the Creole Petroleum and its parent company, the Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, became devoted advocates of public relations and promoters of corporate social responsibility. Creole considered a socially committed corporation with responsibilities in the host country where the firm operated to be the best strategy to preserve its operations abroad. This policy also served to combat growing nationalism in the global south. These activities closed a cycle of corporate reinvention that had started timidly in the 1930s but consolidated itself in the 1940s. Creole gradually convinced itself that its firms needed not only better relations with the nationals but also a program of full integration with the locals, if the corporation aspired to stay there for a long time. Creole had to act and show itself as a good corporate citizen working for the prosperity of Venezuela. The late and relatively friendly nationalization of the Venezuelan petroleum industry proved the success of the Jersey Standard affiliates in adopting a broad agenda of social responsibility in that country. The scope of the corporate social responsibility agenda of foreign petroleum enterprises was massive. The oilmen's commitment to Venezuelans' prosperity was different in at least two ways to what happened in other countries of Latin America. First, the domestic hydrocarbon industry continued to be profitable throughout the 20th century. It did not face any serious downturns in production or fluctuation in prices, or the same degree of competition as other Latin American commodities. The insatiable world hunger for petroleum also placed the country's abundant oil reserves in a privileged position in the global economy. In contrast, places like Argentina consumed most of its oil internally and experienced stationary or declining production. This situation meant that American and British interests could satisfy the needs of workers and tax collectors in Caracas, reap considerable profits for their shareholders, and still finance a comprehensive set of policies and projects oriented towards the social welfare of the country and its citizens. The adoption of a broad agenda of corporate social responsibility was the reason why American and British petroleum interests remained in Venezuela for too long. The tempered oil nationalism that emerged in the country is not understandable unless the literature acknowledges the importance that the country's welfare played in the business strategies of these firms. Thank you very much.